A man stood on the platform of an old train station, waiting for the last train of the night. The air was thick with mist, wrapping around the dimly lit street lamps that flickered overhead. A faint electronic hum came from the digital display board above, its glowing red letters displaying a single message: last departure. He glanced at his watch. The train was already 5 minutes late. The station was unusually silent. No announcements, no footsteps, no distant conversations. He looked round and realized he was the only one there. The empty benches stretched across the platform. The vending machine at the far end glowed softly, fully stocked yet untouched. He shifted on his feet, uneasy. Something about the silence pressed against his ears. The train tracks extended into the darkness, vanishing into thick fog. The display board flickered. The same message remained: last departure. His pulse quickened. He had never seen a train station this lifeless. A distant rumble broke the silence. A faint light appeared down the tracks, growing larger as it approached. He let out a breath, relieved. The headlights of the train pierced through the fog, illuminating the platform. It slowed, hissing as it came to a stop, doors sliding open with a whisper. The train was sleek, modern, yet unfamiliar. He stepped forward, peering inside. Empty. No passengers, no conductor, not even a sound from the overhead speakers. He hesitated but stepped inside. The doors shut behind him. The train jolted forward. He found a seat near the window, staring out at the platform as it blurred into darkness. The station lights faded into the distance. He turned his gaze to the inside of the train. The seats were pristine, the overhead lights humming softly. The route map above the doors showed no station names, only blank spaces where text should be. The train moved faster than expected. He tried to remember if he had ever taken this line before. The tunnels outside were darker than normal, stretching endlessly without interruption. No stations, no passing lights, only pitch-black walls speeding by. His reflection in the window stared back at him, but something about it was off. The face looking at him seemed to move a fraction too slowly, almost as if it were slightly delayed. A cold sensation crawled up his spine. He turned away from the window. The carriage was still empty. He checked his phone. No signal. The train sped up. The windows darkened. He stood up, moving toward the door leading to the next carriage. The small window on the door was foggy, making it impossible to see through. He tried the handle. Locked. He turned back to his seat, but something had changed. The overhead lights flickered. The air felt heavy.
He checked the reflection in the window again. This time, his reflection wasn't alone. A faint outline stood behind him, barely visible, its features blurred. His breath caught in his throat. He spun around. The train was empty. He looked back at the window. The figure was closer now. Its shape was clearer, standing just behind his seat. His heart pounded. He turned sharply, but there was nothing there. The train continued speeding forward. The air inside the carriage was growing colder. His breath fogged in front of him. He moved toward the emergency stop button. His fingers trembled as he pressed it. Nothing happened. The train showed no signs of slowing. The reflection in the window shifted. The figure now sat in the seat across from him. His skin crawled as he slowly turned his head. The seat was empty. But the moment his eyes left the reflection, the atmosphere thickened. The weight of something unseen pressed down on him. The train lights flickered again, casting long, stretching shadows along the seats. The windows outside showed nothing but a deep, suffocating darkness. The tunnel seemed endless. He gripped the edge of his seat, his knuckles turning white. The reflection in the glass changed again. This time, it was looking directly at him. Its face was identical to his, except for one thing. It was smiling. The train suddenly lurched forward, throwing him back into his seat. The lights flickered violently. The reflection's mouth moved, though no sound came from it. He turned, heart hammering against his ribs. He had to get out. He ran to the other end of the carriage, trying the doors again. Locked. The air felt thick, pressing against his chest. The train gave another violent jolt, and the lights went out completely. The darkness swallowed everything. He could feel something behind him. The cold breath against his neck. The sensation of something leaning in. The silence stretched. The lights snapped back on. The train had stopped. The doors slid open. The platform outside was unfamiliar, bathed in dim, flickering lights. The digital display above the exit was blank. He hesitated, stepping off the train. The doors closed behind him. The train didn't move. He turned around, staring through the window. His seat was empty. But in the reflection, his other self still sat there, watching. The smile widened. The train doors locked. The lights inside the carriage flickered, and then, slowly, the train pulled away, disappearing into the darkness. The station was silent. The platform was empty. There were no signs, no exits, only a single digital display flickering back to life. Next arrival, unknown.